compound the sin by allowing them to get away with it and calling them what they're not. They're not a state, and they do not represent Islam.
Well, that was Secretary of State John Kerry testifying before Congress on the White House plan to defeat the terror army in Iraq and Syria. Mr. Kerry going out of his way to make a distinction between the terrorists and Islam, something the administration has done repeatedly of late. Watch this.
Now let's make two things clear. ISIL is not Islamic. No religion condones the killing of innocents.
Despite its slick public media and its self-proclamation to be the Islamic State of Iraq and the Levant, ISIL is neither Islamic nor is it a state.
This organization describing itself as the Islamic State is a bit of a misnomer. They are not Islamic. No religion condones the killing or terrorizing of innocent individuals. Certainly not the religion of Islam.
The Muslims of the world know that what ISIL represents in no way is what their religion, what their ethnicity, what their background represents.
Joining me now, Dr. Zuhdi Jasser. He's founder and president of the American Islamic Forum for Democracy, a former lieutenant commander in the U.S. Navy, and author of A Battle for the Soul of Islam, an American Muslim patriot's fight to save his faith. Zuhdi, good to see you again tonight.
Nice
Are they
to see
right?
you, Megan. Absolutely not. And please, if anybody in the administration is listening, stop telling us Muslims what is Islamic. I mean, so he's saying this is compounding the sin. How about when he shakes and hugs the king of Saudi Arabia for their being the custodians of the Holy Mosque, and yet they have in prisons apostates, liberal Muslims. They're a misogynistic nation that treats women as third-class citizens. Or the Islamic Republic of Pakistan, or the Islamic Republic of Iran. Hundreds of millions of Muslims running governments all over the world that line their prisons and torture Christians and Jews and Muslims, and that's Islamic, and ISIS sort of came out of thin air. ISIS is a byproduct of those ideologies, and to deny it and dismiss it, they're trying to bury us reformers from having a seat at the table.
You know, they seem to be saying if you allow them to be Islamic, to have that label, that you're legitimizing them, that you are conceding that what they're doing is accepted in under the umbrella somehow of Islam.
Well, the legitimacy, yeah, that might be the argument that we would make as reformers, that we need to take back the mantle of Islam. We need to separate mosque and state and not only condemn the Islamic State, but all Islamic states, no different than the American Revolution condemned theocracy. But if we're going to have that conversation, Megan, we have to get to the first step of the 12 steps, which is past denial, and say, you know, we Muslims have a major problem globally, and we have to own it. I can't own it as a Muslim if the Secretary of Islamic Apologetics now, who's our Secretary of State, is too busy enabling the Islamic theocrats of the world into saying, well, wait, this little terror group is not Islamic, but you know, the Wahhabi ideas that created them, will ignore them and hug the king of Saudi Arabia in the meantime.
Let me ask you about that, Zuhdi, because we see so many people, I mean, and I admit, I've had them on the program, you know, from CARE, and they seem to have this message that is very controversial, and they seem to be affiliated with some very sketchy groups like, you know, Hamas, which we recognize as a terrorist organization. You know, talk to us about moderate Islam and moderate Muslims and where they are on this.
Well, their entire operation and their lobbying organizations, fueled by the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, is to snuff out our voice in the West, because the main laboratory that we can do our reform work against Sharia and government and this draconian law that's still in the 13th century is in the West. So if the West is too busy being labeled as anti-Muslim bigots and is on the defense and we're all victims as Muslims, you can never have this conversation. So moderate Muslims acknowledge that the Islamic State is a threat, that we don't want to live in Islamic states. Moderate Muslims acknowledge that Sharia, as it's interpreted today, is misogynistic, is anti-Western, anti-freedom, and the Islamists want to not have that conversation and want to marginalize us from the mosques and Islamic representation in our voices.
I don't know. Whenever I hear these administration officials telling me that the Islamic State is neither Islamic nor a state, I think of this.
Now I'm a little verklempt. Talk amongst yourselves. I'll give you a topic. Transitional Romanesque architecture was neither transitional nor Romanesque. Discuss.
Right. It's neither Islamic nor a state. Discuss. I'll give you the last word, Zuhdi.
Well, I mean, I wish, you know, that was funny, but the sad thing is all the free-thinking Muslims in the world that are in jail under Islamic republics are crying when they hear the Secretary of State enable continued theocracy, and we have to start to take sides within the House of Islam.
Man, way to bring the room down. Anyway,
Sorry.
it was still good to see you. It's a valid
Sorry,
point
Megan.
nonetheless.